Welcome to Business in the Pod, the podcast where Demar McKim students, like myself, sit down with college leadership to explore trending business topics. Today, we're excited to welcome Professor Loredana Padurian, an award-winning global educator, entrepreneur, author, and public speaker with experience spanning Switzerland, Italy, India, Malaysia, and the USA. Before joining Demar McKim, she spent 8 years leading innovation and experiential learning in the Asia School of Business in collaboration with MIT Sloan. Now an associate professor at Demar McKim, she teaches and researches entrepreneurship, leadership, and innovation. A sought-after consultant, executive coach, and keynote speaker, Loredana is known for her direct, no-nonsense style, both in the classroom and on the stage. In this episode, we'll explore the future of business, the role of AI in the classroom, and the impact of social media in academia and beyond. Welcome. Thank you for sitting down with me today.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. Talking to my students is my favorite thing to do, especially outside of the class. So I think of this as a treat.
First, I'd like to introduce myself to you. My name is Hannah. I'm a fourth year at Northeastern University. I'm originally from upstate New York. Made my way over to Boston. I am studying business administration with a concentration in marketing and a minor in sports media and communications. I've completed 2 co-ops here at Northeastern, and I just accepted my 3rd co-op, so very excited. Thank you. During my time here, I've been in so many clubs, just a lot of people. I've made so many friends and made so many connections, and I'm also part of a nonprofit called Give and Glow that is run entirely by Northeastern students.
Wow. And you thought my bio was impressive? My goodness.
Please, I would love to hear more about you.
Well, we'll talk, but, I think this should go both ways. How about that?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background?
Yeah, so I've been a very, very happy professor at Northeastern for, this is my 3rd year. I tell my students that I'm a junior. Prior to that, I lived in Malaysia. Like you mentioned before, I worked in India. I worked in Switzerland. I was born in Transylvania, Romania. And no, I don't know Dracula, and no, it's not a real thing, but it was one of our kings. Because everybody's asking me this. And prior to becoming a professor, I had 19 different jobs, which we're going to talk a little bit about later. And I think of myself as an accidental professor. So this is a little bit about myself.
I mean, you have just the most impressive background. Tell me a little bit more about what drives you and how did you end up in academia after all those 19 jobs?
Yeah. So this is going to sound really crazy, but when I was 27, I discovered that I have ADHD. I'm going to be 50 this year. So for the students, 50 is not the end of the life, just so you know, people. We still have a long way to go. And up to that point, I think I struggled a lot trying to understand what's wrong with me. Because if, for example, for people who have ADHD, you know that you have so many questions and you don't know why you are the way you are and you think you're a loser and nothing sticks and you're interested in so many things, but nothing really sticks. So I think, to be honest, ADHD drives me because once I figured out that I have it, it became a superpower for me. I am creative and I'm curious and I'm excited about new opportunities. And instead of sort of beating myself up for not being loyal to a company for 20 years like my peers, I actually realized that ADHD gives me this energy to constantly pursue new things. And that's how I ended up being a professor because I'm an accidental professor, like I said. I only became a professor because I went to grad school in Switzerland and I was in the first or the second founding class. Mm-hmm. And I think I was in the first batch of PhD students. And they didn't have a program for me. And they said, go in the world and find a place where they are willing to teach you. So I won a very, very prestigious scholarship in Switzerland from the Swiss National Research Foundation.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And with that scholarship, I said, well, I'm going to go. I don't know where I'm going to go. And I don't know. Have you seen Legally Blonde?
Of course. Obviously.
That's what I did. I sort of Googled where are the best schools in the world.
Yeah.
And I ended up in Boston. So I did a summer program at Harvard. And then I spent a little bit of time at MIT. And I think, especially when I was at MIT, I realized that there's no such thing as a standard for being a professor. You can be whomever you want to be and however you want to be. As long as you're excellent, you can be as unconventional as you want.
Yeah. And the best professors that I've had always take their experience that they've had throughout their career before being a professor and relay that information, that knowledge to the students. So,
well, otherwise, what do you do with all this knowledge?
yeah,
You know?
I know. And you have such a strong social media presence. I was doing my research before this conversation, of course. I'm obsessed. How has that shaped your role as an educator?
So I accidentally, it's pure accident that I'm on social media. I went viral a couple of times and I didn't even know what exactly it is.
Yeah.
And now I have a community that we call the Smarties community, and I'm very, very proud of them. And the community is called Smarties because it's very much informed by this book that I wrote a couple of years ago, The Job is Easy, The People Are Not, 10 Smart Skills, Not Soft, to Become Better People. So my followers call themselves Smarties. And I would say that the primary thing that I learned is that if it's not visual, it's not content. So in my classroom, I have exactly the same approach. I am petrified of boredom. Like, if there's an enemy in my life because of ADHD, I think I'm petrified of boredom, not of my own, but of my students.
I'm right there with you.
So it's, for example, I look around and I'm like, oh, Joey's not looking at me. Why not? So I'm trying to make the classroom environment very visual, not only from a presentation perspective, but from a storytelling perspective. And the one thing that social media taught me, I think, is that you have to be very concise and stay on message.
Yes.
Because otherwise we scroll up.
Otherwise, yeah, moving on to the next.
And my students do the same thing.
Yeah.
They might not literally scroll up, but you can see them checking out.
And the stimulation too, like going online, checking LinkedIn, checking, online shopping.
Yeah,
Exactly.
TikTok shops.
Instead of listening to you as so much to give the class.
Well, and I tell my colleagues all the time, we are not competing with other professors. We're competing with TikTok University, with Amazon Shopping. We're competing with all these other platforms out there that constantly attract students with their storytelling. So for me, the biggest compliment is for a student to say, oh my God, I didn't realize the class ended and I didn't even check my computer. Hannah, can you believe I have students who never opened their computer during my class?
I believe it.
That's a huge compliment.
I believe it.
So
yes. And that is not common at all.
So
speaking of the classroom, how are you incorporating artificial intelligence into your classroom? And what has the response been like from your students?
My goodness, I'm so happy you asked me this question. Putting the joke aside, I brought you a few materials. So in the summer of 2023, which is 2 years ago, I heard about AI and I heard about this little thing called ChatGPT, and I had to Google to find out what ChatGPT is. And I'll connect this to the previous question, which was, if it's not visual, it's not content. So what I realized is that there are ways to increase three things: attention, comprehension, and retention in the classroom. If you make the content more interesting, more storytelling. Once again, I have to compete with TikTok University, right?
Of course.
So what I did in one of my classes, and now we've been doing it for 5 semesters, is I teach, let's say, an innovation framework. Let's say disruptive innovation or the blue red ocean strategy. And then I ask the students to tell the story of that theory using AI to generate images. I mean, come on, isn't this beyond?
It's just like beautiful.
I have 30-something books like this, all written by my students with different stories. And what's interesting is they all have the same frameworks, and the outcome is so different, you cannot imagine.
Yeah. And speaking of AI, what are some ethical considerations students need to keep in mind when using AI in business, and even with this assignment as well?
So I would say what I learned in my 2 years of being a very, very heavy user of artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, is that AI is a mirror. So it's going to do exactly what you want them to do. So if you want them to do very little and very badly, they're going to do exactly that.
Yeah.
So it reflects your intention, your performance, your quality standards. And, I tell my students all that in my class, it's mandatory to use ChatGPT or, any of the tools. But I can catch you in a second if all you did was copy paste.
Yes.
I want AI to help with critical thinking. And in projects like this, I promise you it does. Because you have to think about the theory, then about the storytelling, then about the graphic, then about the layout, then about the reader, right? So there's a lot of critical thinking in this versus ask me a question, copy paste it, pass it to me. And I tell my students all the time, and I'll close it here, my job is not to grade AI.
Yeah.
Because if that's my job, I don't need the students to be here.
Yeah.
So do you want to be replaced by AI, or do you want to be hired because you know how to use AI?
Yeah.
Because we're not losing jobs to AI. We're losing jobs to people who know how to use AI.
What type of prompts do your students use in ChatGPT?
My goodness, we could write a book actually on prompt engineering because, so for example, this is a book generated by Maddie, Marissa, Eton, Courtney, and Lily. And if you were to ask them to show you the list of the prompts, we could probably fill up a book like this.
No way.
Why am I saying this? In order to generate a complex image, for example, a woman thinking about her business and the next steps in the business, first you need to generate the story, right? And you have to educate your AI. This is my story. This is what I want to say. This is what my characters look like. So prompt engineering, I think, is the most important skill today. And it's not a technology skill.
Right.
It's a storytelling skill. It's an articulation skill. In my class, for example, class participation is essential. And I have students who say, I'm shy, I don't want to speak. And I'm like, I don't care. You want to work in business, you're going to have to learn how to speak.
Yes.
I'm not very popular, I have to tell you, but I'm very effective. So you have to, it's almost like prompt engineering today is the search skills that when I was your age and when my parents were younger, we had to learn how to search, which was also a skill that a lot of people were like, oh, you just go and find things. No. The better the search, the better the prompt, the better the outcome.
Right. But like machine learning, and that is not just a topic for data science majors, because I hear that all the time of people who don't want to learn more about AI because they're just daunted by how intricate it can be, but it's so prominent in the business world.
So wait until you see what I'm doing next in my class.
Oh, I can't wait.
So we decided to take these stories.
Yeah.
Once again, these are stories about innovation. These are theories of innovation written by hardcore professors from MIT and Harvard and Northeastern. But we want to tell them in a way that captures attention, increases comprehension, and therefore it has a higher retention, right? Because that's why you want the learning.
Exactly.
So the next step is, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put together a play.
Ooh.
So I'm meeting my students today, and we are writing the screenplay and the script with the help of ChatGPT. Every student will have a role. I experimented last semester. And in my business class, our capstone project is a play, a dramatic, comic, sort of funny play that now takes what we did using this and puts it in action.
Real life.
So if you tell me that only data scientists can use ChatGPT, why am I doing all this creative work? Or the other way around, I want to tell you, Hannah, that I get a lot of people saying, well, business is serious. Why do we do this? AI is here to once again augment our intelligence.
Right.
So why not use it for that?
So moving on a little bit to social media.
Again.
Social media has changed how businesses market themselves. What is the biggest mistake companies make?
Thinking that if you're on social media, you're doing enough. For example, if you're on social media, you should be there for a purpose. What's your purpose? To engage with the customers, to get feedback, to listen to them, right? So you have some companies who are doing such a great job at being very close to the customer.
Yeah.
And then you have some companies who are just there to sort of be present.
Check the box.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't need you to be there to check the box. I have to tell you, I have a massive beef with one of these companies. So right now I'm not wearing my beautiful necklace because the mic is not designed for women with great jewelry.
Yes.
But it's from Swarovski. I have most of my stuff from Swarovski. I think I tagged this company 1,000 times in the past 3 years. Not once they acknowledged my existence.
Should sponsor you at this point.
Yes, at least. And then you find all these younger, smaller, maybe startup companies who the second you mention them, they come back, they validate you, they recognize you, they try to ask you questions. What do you like? What do you don't like, right? I'm not an influencer by any means, but I accepted to review 2 products.
Yeah.
And I actually got back to the companies and they said, I would rather review it privately for you. Are you willing to listen to my feedback? Okay. Versus just go and be fake and say, oh, this was amazing, I love it, it's great, right? And what I love about both of these companies, they were like, actually, that's what we want. We want you to give us real feedback. And if you don't feel like you're happy with it, you can post if you want, but you don't have to. So once again, it goes back to what's the purpose of being online? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to learn, or are you just trying to be sort of like there passively? So if somebody wants to tag you, they know who you tag.
I love that. And there's so many brands that just have so many different personas. I mean, you see brands that just are constantly interacting with the consumer, and they're almost one of you. And it just makes you really want to buy the product. I mean, I have companies that I follow and I'm a fan of this product and this company and this persona. And there's other companies that I just go and they're just showing their product and that's it, and they don't really interact as much, and that is their place. But you're right, like they might be missing the mark a little bit on why are they doing social media. It's to make that interaction, make that connection with the consumer on a way that they can't.
Didn't you work for Sam Adams?
Yes, I did.
What was that experience like? Because I feel like you know so much more from the brand perspective. Why are so many brands just acting like ticking the box? Was that your experience with Sam Adams?
Oh, well, I did 2 co-ops. And my first was a social media co-op with Wayfair. And my second was a social impact co-op with Sam Adams. And it did have a social media aspect. And with that part to it, my second co-op with Sam Adams, I definitely had a lot more ownership of the account. So I was able to take initiative, and our purpose of the account was to showcase entrepreneurs and innovators and in the food and beverage space.
It goes back to what's the purpose.
Right. And to us, when I first joined the account, it was more of just highlighting entrepreneurs and not as engaging as I wanted it to be. It was doing fine. It was doing great. But I really wanted to take a spin on it and interview these people, get their products and make reels and like hop on like trends that were happening. And that really just brought so much more engagement to the account, and it made it more interesting to scroll through.
That storytelling works for social media too, right?
Yes, you're right. For the first co-op that I did, it was really just selling furniture. And that was it. And we didn't really interact as much with the customer.
What a missed opportunity.
I know. I agree with you. And continuing our conversation on social media, what tips or advice would you have to someone, it could be a student or an entrepreneur, just starting off on their social media presence?
So I would say it's hard. Don't underestimate it, because social media today is not what it used to be 10, 15 years ago when the whole phenomenon was still in very early stages. It's a highly competitive environment. It's very hard to get followers, and it's even harder to keep them. And it's all about storytelling. So more than anything, you need to define your identity. So you were mentioning furniture before, and people are like, well, what's sexy about furniture? What stories can you tell about? Well, furniture is something that we all have in common, right?
Yeah.
Think about, you could start a series with like, if my couch could do the talking.
I love that.
Right? Or table talks. Everything can be creative. I don't care if you sell tractors or socks or makeup or consulting. You can have a great storytelling, but it's very,
and
very
you
hard.
could even create like a spokesperson based on different types of furniture.
Exactly.
Different, like, who likes this type
Oh my God, yes.
all pink.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. See? So you have to have, it's a balance of, and you should know this better because you're an expert, but it's a balance of creativity and discipline, right? So the discipline of posting all the time, being consistent, engaging with your customers. You're not just there to have an account so people can tag you. And then having this creativity of saying, on one hand, what's consistent and what's trending, because you have to do these 2 things at the same time. And I need you to understand that I'm not good at social media at all. If there's, and this is not an imposter syndrome. I'm very good at teaching. I'm an outstanding public speaker. In social media, I suck. Why? Because I don't have enough time to even catch up with learning. So you have to learn about this field literally every day. And I decided to invest my learning capacity in AI, for example. But it's a lot harder than it seems. And you don't hire an intern for social media if you want to do it well. How many people work in your company?
So for my first co-op, I walked in first day expecting a manager, and the team was 6 people just for organic social.
Let alone paid.
And paid was like a whole other section that we...
Yes.
From your social media presence, a team is really important.
Yeah.
I mean, interns bring a new perspective to it for sure. Younger people are looking at different things on social media than older population for sure, but you do need a team and you need people. It's an expertise, like you were saying. It truly, truly is.
It's not a hobby anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, you hired a young kid who takes pictures.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing anymore. You have to take it as seriously as hiring a CFO.
I love Northeastern social presence. Honestly, it's the best.
Actually, I do too.
Yeah,
I follow
it's
it all
really
the time. I actually got into a beef on social media with somebody who said that Northeastern students and faculty are the worst dressed on campus on Boston. And I was like, have you met me? What? See what?
To the nines every day.
This?
Please.
No. Hey, let me show you the receipts.
I love that. Speaking of your students, I would love to hear more about them, and particularly a time when a student turned a classroom idea into a successful business.
So I think because I've been at Northeastern only for 3 years, success is a little bit hard to define because it takes a while to take off. But I can tell you that in every single class I have working entrepreneurs. I'll give you an example. My first semester, this baby of a student, she's 18, came from Florida, teaching 2301, which is Intro to Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And she comes to me and she says, I think I have a little bit of a business, but I think it's just very little. She's putting herself down for me to find out that not only she has a business, she has a patent on a business. And now there's a company that wants to buy her patent. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Why don't you teach this class instead of me doing this? But this semester, I have a student who has 4,000 customers in their database. They are matching students with housing, and they're skipping the middleman. And he comes to me to give him advice. I'm like, honey, I need advice from you. Last semester, I have a student who's like, I'm thinking about spinning my business and maybe doing something else because I'm kind of bored of what I'm doing. I'm like, what do you do? He said, I sell stuff on Amazon. And I'm like, how much stuff do you sell? He said, I had 80,000 units last year.
Wow.
What am I doing here? What am I doing here? I don't know how to teach these kids how to do better. So what I love about the Northeastern student is you don't have to teach them entrepreneurship to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
They have the spirit in them. They have this entrepreneurial spirit somehow. I don't know if it's a self-selection process or we give them this, but I think that's why this is my favorite school, by the way.
I was going to say, does that differ from other schools that you've taught at before?
Well, MIT obviously was very entrepreneurial, but I think we're better. I don't think we are better.
I won't disagree.
At least publicly, we can disagree.
And if a student wants to start a business today, what is the first step they should take?
Well, after you take my class, both. That's the first step you should take. Take my class.
I'm already behind. How do I sign up for a class? I'm a senior.
I'll give you a crash course. But I would say don't focus on the solution. And this is something that every single colleague of mine in my department, we're trying to preach. Don't focus on the solution. Focus on the problem. Spend 80% of your time talking about the problem. Talk to customers. Go and spend significant time observing them. There's a lot of false narrative that really great entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs never survey the customer. You don't have to survey the customer, but you have to be obsessive about how they act, how they behave, what problems they have. You have to know why, if the problem is still there and there's a lot of competitors, what do they leave on the floor that is not fixed yet?
Yeah.
So you have to become obsessed with, there's a method we call design thinking, but it's not that sophisticated. It just says that you design everything with the customer in mind. Mm-hmm. So customer is queen or king or whatever pronoun they choose to use, because I still believe in that. So customer first and everything after.
I love that. I mean, that is so true, but so often overlooked.
Very overlooked. And then you end up having silly products that nobody wanted. Like, did you guys know that Twitter had their own phone?
No.
And the only function of the phone was
Twitter.
And they launched it.
What problem is that solving?
The problem of having multiple devices in your pants. So, see, that's the thing. If you come to my class, for example, the first day of class, we only talk about products without problems.
Yeah.
And then the companies are thinking, oh, why was this not a success? Or like, maybe because we don't have this problem. But we, like you said, we don't spend enough time talking to customers, because also big companies tend to be arrogant. We know better. Honey, you don't. Go and talk to the people. They still know better.
If you were going to start a startup today, what would you do?
Well, that would be my fourth startup. So I would. That's
better around.
Let's not do that. But actually, what I would do, and I know this sounds very silly, but I would build technology designed for the non-majority. A silly thing to tell you. You see this mic? This mic is designed for men. I've been a public speaker for 15 years. All the mics are designed for men. Why? Because they were designed for a button-down shirt or a tie.
Yes.
as a woman, I have this problem that I have to think about what am I going to wear so the mic fits me. So why am I saying this? There's a lot of unmet needs on the market today. And we think that these are minorities. Really, 52% of the world population is women. So let's not. And that's, for example, how disruptive innovation is defined as addressing the needs of an underserved community. Yes. An underserved community is not always what we think a poor community. Yes, it's not. We have money, honey.
You took off your beautiful necklace because the mic was going to interfere with it.
Yes.
And just circling back a little bit to AI, what role do you see AI playing in the future of entrepreneurship?
So I have a crazy idea.
Yeah.
I think the next startups, like the really, really fun, interesting, disruptive startups, will have AI as co-founders.
Yeah.
Because if you train your AI really well, and you invest a lot of time, and I'm not just talking about ChatGPT, even though ChatGPT to me is outstanding and the opportunities and the capabilities are barely in an incipient form, I think you could have a partner in AI. I think you could have a founder. You could have somebody who can bounce ideas off you, especially in this multi-agent AI environment. So imagine this, that my next consulting company is going to look like me, the person, one human, a bunch of co-agents, co-participants who are talking behind my back, literally, and they are working on the task that my clients and I gave them, and then they gave us the insights. So co-partners, co-founders.
And even a co-author for your book.
Even a co-author for my book, which in my book, actually, the AI is not a co-author because the content is created by Professor Fine and I, but they are a partner.
Yeah.
Because they generated the images. And finally, the U.S. Congress decided in February of 2025 that the authorship and the ownership of images generated through AI it comes with the one who generated the prompt. Okay. So now the copyright of all this content, it comes with the author because they realize that it's the prompt that makes the uniqueness of it. Yes. Isn't that amazing?
I didn't know that. I love that. Those were all the questions I had. That's all.
Yay!